What is going on, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. Guys, officially today, Myles Turner has signed his contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. So that is the official end of an era with the Indiana Pacers and Myles Turner, who had spent a decade with this team and is now headed somewhere else. And so I got to say this first because I never got a chance to actually tell people how I felt about the whole situation. Obviously, the fan in me, as somebody that's started to really like this team and whatnot over the last few years. And it really is upsetting that Myles decided that he was just going to go ahead and leave after, we were so close to winning a championship. And, for Myles to just leave the way that he did, it stings a little bit. I don't think that, if you're a fan, you should be a little upset because the guy was saying that he wanted to be a Pacer and, he's been a Pacer all of his career. And, you want to keep guys like that around, but, just sometimes in the business aspect of the world, it doesn't work out. And that's really what happened here. And I think what for me, it kind of was, it's been really weird to look at it because the whole situation of him getting signed by the Bucks really came out of nowhere. Nobody really knew that was coming because we even had reports earlier in the week that he was, that the Pacers were in tune, ready to, go into that salary tax, or the luxury tax, I should say. And, we're ready to go deep into the luxury tax to be able to keep Myles Turner here. And even Kevin Pritchard said that today, that him and, and the family of the team, that everybody was in tune to make as much money, to give as much money as they could to be able to keep Myles Turner here. But obviously that kind of makes you wonder because we heard that officially, or firstly, when we heard that Myles was going to the Bucks, who, again, he signed a 4-year contract worth $107 million. So that would have put him at, that is 26, almost 27 million a year. Almost 27 million a year. I don't know how much of it was guaranteed, but whatever. And then we heard that the Pacers were never willing to give Myles a more than 3-year contract. And then we heard that their number never would have reached over 20 million. So because under the assumption that Benedict Mathurin was going to have to get paid at some point. But again, the Indiana Pacers, they're sitting right now without Myles Turner, sitting at just under $168 million on their roster currently. And the luxury tax level is set just under $188 million. So the Pacers had $20 million to go before they would have went into the luxury tax. Okay. And even then, the team said they were willing to go deep into it, which the first apron is at $196 million, which anyone that know what that is, it's basically your roster. You have restrictions on how you can construct your roster after a certain point once you hit that number. So basically the Pacers had just shy of $30 million to play with. So numbers don't conflate there when we're saying, hearing that the Pacers were willing to go deep into the luxury tax, and that would have definitely meant that they would have given Myles over 20 million. And the number has varied. I heard people say that it was 20 million that they wouldn't budge on. I heard somebody say that they were willing to go up to 23 million. And I will say this, like if it was 23 and Myles went for 27, I'm a little bit more mad, right? Because, only a few million and you went to one of our biggest rivals, really? Like you as a Pacer and you had that kind of understanding and you went to that rival. Now, for all intents and purposes, of course, when it comes to why he probably chose to go to a different team, obviously the money, it was probably higher. But Bob Kravitz as well on social media saying that he heard that Milwaukee gave him the idea he'd be a second option there in Milwaukee. So to, be given that kind of opportunity, maybe he thought he would be more utilized there. I don't know. Could have also been the fact that he knew Tyrese Halliburton wasn't going to be playing for the majority of the year. And now we found out it's pretty much none of it. I mean, how does that impact him? We don't even know if Giannis is still staying with Milwaukee. So it's kind of hard for me as a fan to think about him leaving. And on top of what we've been hearing is that from Bob Kravitz also said, here's the bottom line with Myles' departure, as I understand it. The Pacers were negotiating. Milwaukee came in with a higher offer, and Myles chose to accept the Bucks' offer without any further negotiation with the Pacers. Indiana would have matched it, but Myles was gone. So his agent and him made the decision to go to the Bucks, one, without telling the Pacers, second, gave them no chance to counter. So, which again kind of also goes back to the point of if the Pacers weren't willing to give him, I mean, if you're telling me it was only a difference between 23 and 27 and Myles never gave them the chance, then it either wasn't about money as the fact that he felt like he could be utilized better in Milwaukee because he feels like the options there are much better for him for the back end of his career, or the money really was spaced out that much more and the Pacers were just full of crap and they weren't actually going to give him anything close to what he wanted, right? But nevertheless, it still sucks that, this is how this left. Obviously, the Indiana Pacers franchise put out, tribute videos to Myles, and obviously a ton of fans and local media and a lot of other people still have a high regard for Myles Turner. And, you should, for what he has done and been through here. But it does definitely suck for me. I don't want that taste to be in bad blood, but it just feels like it is a little bit, I think part of it is just the shock again that Myles left so quickly and, especially to the Bucks of all teams. But nevertheless, Myles Turner no longer a thing here in Indianapolis, and we move on. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you so much. And as always, go Pacers.